Hello everyone, a warm welcome to you all. First of all, I want to thank you all for finding time and coming over here. Thanks to our speaker and thanks to all the participants. I, Radhika, on behalf of you all, welcome you all on today's topic skill and competencies for success. We all know that skill is necessary for success, but what skill and how to improve it today we will get to know. I want to start the session with a quote because quote always motivate us. Attitude is a choice, happiness is a choice, optimism is a choice, kindness is a choice, giving is a choice, respect is a choice. Whatever choice you make makes you choose wisely. So choice is the very important part we need to do. Now I want to introduce EducoHire. EducoHire is a joint venture of mytrustedtutor.com and EducoPro. It gives me an immense pleasure to announce that EducoHire came up with the project EducoTrain. EducoTrain is a training and development solution from the family of EducoPro. We at EducoPro believe that children and students of the 21st century need different skills and different approaches. EducoTrain will have dynamic faculty and trainers from different streams of life, from the world of education, from the world of corporate sectors, from the world of YouTuber, freelancer and entrepreneurs, from the world of scientists and from the world of young achievers. Now I want to introduce our today's speaker of the day, Snehalata ma'am. She has been in the teaching profession for last 30 years. She has been teaching and administrative experience. Her teaching experience includes teaching from primary to post graduation, administrative experience in a school as well as primary teachers training college. She have attended state, national, international seminars, conferences and presented papers. She conducted workshops on life skills and delivered lectures at schools and at colleges. That's really great about to know about this Snehalata ma'am. Before handling the podium to ma'am, just few announcements. At the end, I will be sharing a feedback form in which your certificate will also be there. Once you will fill the form, you will get the certificate, and few links will also be shared at the end of the session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share some of my ideas with you people. And it gives me immense pleasure to be here with you. I hope that there will be a good interaction between us. And I hope that you will have some patience. You will have to bear with me for an hour or so, I think. But I hope we'll have a good interactive session. Thank you so much. And I think without wasting much time, I'll switch over to my topic and I'll be wanting to share a PPT with you so that, is it okay with you?
Yes, ma'am, you can
Yeah.
share, and I have given the rights.
Okay. But we'll start now. See, the first thing that I want to start with is the difference between skills and competencies. And then we'll go on later on to other things. But what are skills and what are competencies? Basically, we use them synonymously. But actually, there is a difference between the two. We see skills are actually the learned abilities that a person has to do a job well. And it is an ability or a capacity that one acquires through systematic, deliberate, and sustained effort to smoothly and adaptively carry out complex activities or job functions, which involves ideas that is cognitive skills. We all know what cognitive skills are. They are related to the mind, okay, or getting knowledge about certain knowledge, information, all that is related to the cognitive skills. Then we talk about things that is technical skills. We are all aware, and I realize that the technical aspect also is very, very important. Sometimes technology does not help us too much, but it's okay. And or interpersonal skills. So skill is something which is learned in order to be able to carry out one or more job functions. That is the basic thing. Okay, but when we talk about competencies, then we talk about that what is competency? Competency actually refers to how you are performing the job. See, all of us have skills, but how we are doing it, the how of performing the jobs or task, and what a person needs to do to make his job successful or to do his job successfully, that is called competency. So competencies may incorporate a lot of skills, but skills or competency, yes, it incorporates a lot of skills, and it is more than a skill. Competencies involve lot many other skills, but skills may not involve competencies. Okay, because it is the ability to or how you are performing the job, that is with regards to the competency. Okay, so competencies effectively explain how an individual's behavior can bring about the desired results in their role. uh, I would like if somebody would we want to interrupt me and would like to ask any questions, you are free to do so. So in case there is some doubt or some clarification you need, please, you can do it. So I hope this is clear that skills are the basic functions or learned abilities which we require to do a task. But how one does that task, that is actually defining the competency. Okay, so as you all know that all of us do cooking, isn't it? That's a skill that most of us acquire because we can't do without it. But how a chef has something more than skills. He has a competency, because the same thing, whatever dishes he brings comes out with, that has something more than what a natural person with a basic skill may have. So that is his competency. I think this defines the skills and the difference between skills and competencies. Okay, so we'll move ahead, and I'll talk something more about the skills. What are the skills which we need for success? Okay, and I have actually categorized these skills into 4 different categories, which are actually based on the 4 dimensions of skills and learning. I have adapted it from the 12 life skills, which MENA UNICEF has come out with. I have included some skills which normally, or which they have not, I mean, they have given 12 life core skills, but I have included some more using the same nomenclature. I have not adhered to their, the definition of their skills, but I have added a few more, which I feel would be relevant for the teaching profession. All of you are teachers? Are all of them teachers?
Yeah, most of them are teachers.
Okay, and I've borrowed quite a few things from this concept of skills and competencies, or whatever we are talking about, the categorization of these skills. I have adapted a lot many things from the setup of management of a company. Okay, but I feel that they are relevant to our presentation also. Okay, so the first the categories into which the skills have been identified or categorized are personal empowerment, employability, learning, and citizenship. So when we talk about personal empowerment, it is about taking control of one's life, making positive decisions based on what you want. And it is also related to self-esteem, self-confidence. And when you convert your ideas into actions, then that is actually the self-empowerment. But here, I have included other things also. Here, I'm talking about developing certain personal skills for efficacy and efficiency. First of all, I'll start with self-awareness. All of us are about, I think all of you must have gone through these life skills. So you must be aware that self-awareness is also one of the life skills, and it's a skill which we need to know, because it actually is a kind of assessment of oneself. So how you look at yourself, how are you aware of your strengths and weaknesses, and that and that actually helps in building your self-esteem. I had seen one pic, where a cat is looking into a mirror, and it sees itself as a lion. So that's all about self-awareness. See, you are how you perceive yourself. That is very important. And that is how, when you're aware of your strengths and weaknesses, what you're going to do is try to minimize your weaknesses and try to empower yourself with the strengths. In this personal empowerment, we have communication. I won't go into too much of this details about communication, and each of the skills I'll just mention them. In case you need any clarification, we can always go back to these things. So communication, we all know that teachers need to be very effective communicators, not only in the classroom but also in dealing with the colleagues, with the principal, and if you're school teachers, also with the parents. And some of the private schools and colleges, they are managed by certain trusts, so you also have to interact with the management or the trustees of the trust. So these things, there you require a lot of skills of communication. You should be able to coherently put your ideas across to people. You should be a good listener to understand or to actually listen to people's ideas, because a lot helps when it helps a lot when you start listening to people. When you're always talking, you don't listen to people, quite a few of the good things you miss. So you have to be a good communicator by being a good listener also. The next comes is the adaptability. So you are adaptability is a very important skill that one has to have, because not many situations arise where you need to adapt yourself and adjusting planned work to meet the hour. I'll just give you one example. I had a teacher, like a teacher trainee actually. So this teacher trainee, she was giving a lesson and in the school, and there was some disruption because of some program, practice for some program. There was, I think, a forthcoming program, and so the teachers were asking the students to practice, and it was out on the stage, and she was in the classroom, and every time the music would start, the children in the class would look out of the window or they would start dancing. So what she did was, she just stopped when the children started dancing, and she waited for them to come back to the class again and start her work again. This happened twice, but she did not get flustered. She just accepted what the situation was and went ahead with it. So that is just a small example of adaptability, but there are many other complex situations which arise in the school, in the colleges, where we need to adapt. Even in personal lives, we need to adapt a lot. And one does not have to get flustered. It's just a matter of getting oneself, our mindset, a little in a better frame, and we go ahead with it. Resilience. This is a very important, and the present situation of COVID has taught us all these things: adaptability, resilience also. It is the ability to cope with stress and calamity. How will you and then come back to your normal routine or normal state of mind? Of course, it is very good to be able to master this craft. And see, it is a very it is related to your patience also. We all know that we start at the bottom rung of the ladder, and then we move up move up the ladder for our in our careers. And at that time, it is very important to be patient, because if one doesn't have resilience, and you're going to be facing lot many problems while you're going up that ladder. And so it's very important to be resilient. This is an innate ability that people have, some to a lesser extent, some to a greater extent, but resilience is something which is really going to help you to go move across. Next comes the fact about mentally driven. See, only when people are mentally driven, they would reach their goals. And teachers need to be mentally driven, because you have to work very efficiently and effectively. After all, you are trying to shape the next generation. So it's very important that you are mentally driven. Okay, we are going to have lot of difficulties while we are moving up the ladder, or moving the journey towards our goals is not so very smooth. But we have to work for it, and we have to strive for success. And you will only strive for success when you are mentally driven. It is something like, having intrinsic motivation. When you are intrinsically motivated, you will certainly do well. Okay. Next comes the skill for observation, or being very observant. See, most of us, we don't regard this as a very important skill, but it is very, very essential, because a keen sense of observation helps in understanding a lot many things. See, when you enter a room, when you're going into the classroom, you sense something, don't you? So at that time, what happens? Are you able to sense something? What is wrong in the class? Why students are behaving in a particular way? Why some child is not attentive? Some student is gazing out of the window. What is happening? This happens for a continual or in all your lectures. So at that time, you need to review what has happened. But you are able to do it only if you're observant. But if you just go to the class without bothering what is happening around, then you will never be able to assess the situation and act accordingly. So observation or being observant is very important. Then, may I continue, Radhika? Is it okay? My pace? Hello?
Yes, ma'am, it's okay.
It's okay?
Good.
Okay. Any questions so far? Any questions?
No, we don't have any question in the chat box.
It's clear?
Yes.
Okay. Next comes being imaginative. A teacher always has to be imaginative, because imaginative as well as innovative. An imaginative teacher can do wonders in the classroom. See, sometimes we have, in many of the schools, they have fixed lesson plans and they have to follow those lesson plans. But that I don't know, doesn't, but this is my personal opinion, doesn't go very well with me, because I feel that kills the imagination of a teacher. A teacher knows her class well. There can't be fixed norms or strategies which we can apply to classrooms. I may be teaching a class A, B, and C, but then all the three classes are comprised of different individuals, different students, their likes, dislikes, so many things. So if one strategy works in one classroom, the other that strategy may not work in the other classrooms. So a teacher has to be very imaginative to come out with different types of strategies, different teaching methods, different teaching skills. If you are all have done your B.Ed, you must be knowing about the different skills that are being taught. Okay, so these different things have to be used very effectively. So one needs to be very imaginative in coming out, even with problems that are there, or even your classroom situation outside the classroom. You should think a little bit out of the box, and that's only possible when you are imaginative and you are innovative. Next is focus. Okay, why focus? Yes, focus on what? On bettering yourself, as well as focusing on your goals. See, sometimes you get disappointed when you don't reach your goals, or there is a lot of delay in reaching your goals. But nevertheless, don't you lose the focus. And one very important thing that I feel is one can remain focused when one enjoys what one is doing. It's often said that teaching doesn't require anything much. Okay, anybody can become a teacher. Do you agree with that? Do y'all agree with that? I'm putting a question, Radhika. Can you pass on the question? I said, do they agree?
Yes. Amina ma'am says yes, totally agree to this.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah. Payal ma'am also say yes.
Yeah, so it's very important to be focused, and you do lose your focus at some times when there is a delay, but hold on to it, and you will certainly get your success. Yes, it's very difficult to master this skill, but once you master it, it will be wonderful. And as I said, that teachers are not everybody can become a teacher, because there are certain skills and competencies which cannot be taught. I still believe that not everything can be taught, because teachers there are certain characteristics or traits which a teacher possesses, and this, as I said, they cannot be taught. They are innate. So that makes a difference between a teacher and a good teacher. Okay, next is detail oriented. we have to be very detailed oriented. I have come across, as I've told you, I've been in the administrative capacity. So whether it was a school or whether it was a teacher training college, both these places I found that people were not very, you know, accurate in whatever they were presenting, or they were not, that chalta hai attitude. That is something which the people take, for granted. They think that's okay. You can carry on with whatever is there. There is no need to be thorough or accurate in what you are doing. But mind well, we are always addressing students, and we cannot afford to do anything which is not done thoroughly or accurately. You can't teach wrong concepts to children. You can't give misinformation, because I have experienced this thing. I was working as a principal of a school, and one of the teachers was not very comfortable with the content, although was qualified, but not very thorough with the content. And very often, a lot of misinformation was being given to the students. And at the school level, what happens is the parents who are very aware, they rush to the school. And immediately, they start a big hangama that, oh my, what is, the teacher is not good at teaching, and teacher doesn't know, she doesn't have any content mastery. How can you employ such teachers? And it goes on and on and on. So even the smallest mistake on our part can really create a lot of ruckus. So if we have to be very particular about the task that we are doing, and we have to do it very, very meticulously. Okay, digital technology, we all know that today we all need to be very, very techno savvy, because that's the need of the hour. Have to learn a lot many technical skills, and we have to be proficient in them. And we have a very good example of teachers shifting from offline to online teaching, and that is becoming really very, very difficult for many of the teachers who have not mastered the skills of using a computer. That becomes a really problematic thing for the teachers. So I come back to a personal experience. I will talk about that mentally driven, and come with this, combine the two, mentally driven and digital technology. That I had a student who didn't know how to start a computer. And I kept on telling her that she should be doing it. But she always, used to always make some excuses of not using the computer. She would always wait for others to start the computer, and basic things she was not aware, and that used to create lot of problems for the student as well as for the guide, who was me. So these things, we need to update ourselves with the latest skills. Initiative is something which we need to have. Okay, you have a lot of ideas, but you're always waiting for somebody else to give the suggestion. No, you can't do that. If you have ideas, come out with it, and come out with your suggestions, and see how they are going to be acceptable to the other people. See, very often, our hesitation results in our not taking any initiative to do some good work. Maybe your idea is excellent, but since you have not come out with it, some other idea which may not be that good has been accepted. So teachers have to take the initiative to see that the best comes out. I'm coming to the next point, that is employability. Here it is, this actually plays a lot of important role, because it develops an expertise, knowledge, mindset among the people, and it helps to improve the performance. These skills that now I'm going to talk about actually help a person to get employment. Okay, so one of them is teamwork. We all know that teamwork is very, very essential, because a harmonious relationship between teachers is something which we help in bringing out the best. The school will be able to raise its standards, and the teachers will also be able to raise their bar, as well as raise the bar of the students, if a teamwork is something which each and every teacher understands and strives for. So, and obviously, when you're working in a team, you have to allow people to share their ideas, accept others' ideas, and listen to them, show empathy towards others, and and accept things Have a lot of patience in doing it. Only then you can have a good teamwork. Any questions? Okay, so I'll proceed further. Then we talk about professionalism and work ethics. You all know that in teaching profession, somehow we tend to be a little less professional, but it's very important to be thoroughly professional. I'm not saying that professionalism means that you disregard people completely. It's not that. When you are being professional, that doesn't mean that there is no scope for human touch. It is always there. What I mean by professionalism here is that you are accountable for your actions, your habits, your work habits, and you are taking on the responsibility of the mistakes that you make, and you learn from them. See, nobody is perfect. We all learn from our mistakes. But when you disregard your mistakes and continue to repeatedly perform the same thing, then you are not a professional. Okay, you are not professional. So it's very necessary to learn from the mistakes we make, and it's also necessary to show integrity and ethical behavior. There are some ethics which we have to follow. See, a lot of malpractices go on in the teaching profession, and that's unethical. So we have to see that we are not a party to those things. Negotiation is the next skill. That is the ability to come to agreement with people who using logic and persuasion. See, you have to work with teachers, you have to work with principal, and if you're school teachers, you have to work with the parents also. You have to communicate certain things to them, and you have to you see to it that you should be having the ability to persuade them to see your point of view. Very often the parents, they just barge into the staff room, barge into the principal's room with lot of complaints. But when you actually be patient and explain things to them, then they come around to your way of thinking. So that is the negotiation skill that a teacher should practice. Leadership, yes, we should have. Teacher is a leader after all. Okay, so teachers need to have this skill, whether it is a classroom or it's an organization, but you need to have this skill, and you have to come out with the right decisions at the right time, which will help in controlling the situation. See, sometimes things go a little haywire, so at that time you have to become the leader and take the right type of decisions and come back to your normal routine. Okay, so and a teacher, naturally, in the classroom, a lot of disruption takes place. So you are the teacher, you are the leader in the classroom, you are the king of the class. So here it is your responsibility to see that you are creating a conducive environment. You act as a facilitator, you act as the initiator and facilitator to create a conducive environment for learning of the students. Another important skill is analytical. So you need to have this analytical skill, because unless you are able to analyze things, you will not be able to identify problems. You will not be able to make proper decisions. So you have to assess the situation, ask crucial questions, and think of possible course of action and solutions. Next very important skill is decision making. See, lot of alternatives would be available for any kind of problem that we have, but it is something which we need to have, because we have to take the right decision at the right time. So which among the alternatives is the right decision? That is something which we need to find out. And this decision making, I think we do decision making everywhere, whether it is workplace or at home. Decision making is something which we are accepting or practicing everywhere in our life. So these actually decision making helps in problem solving, developing problem solving skills, which is a very highly appreciable or valuable trait in the workplace. Okay, then we come to some of the learning skills. This is a skill, the skills that we have here that goes on throughout our life. We are always learning something. Okay, so these learning skills, they help us in understanding new concepts, methods very quickly, and we are able to take on new tasks and adapt to new situations, improve upon our knowledge and skills continually. So these good teaching the learning skills help us to adapt to new situations and accept innovations more readily. Okay, so when you are always a continual learner, these skills really help you. So but teachers, for teachers, I really would like to say one thing, and that is that you should have the ability of, or what you call as the learning agility. What is learning agility? That is the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Okay, we have learned something, but those things are outdated. They are obsolete now. So you can't go on with the same thing. You need to, relearn, unlearn, because very often those things that we carry with us, unless we unlearn those things, we are not able to accept anything new. So we unlearn the things that we have learned, which are obsolete, which are not relevant for the present times. So we unlearn them, and then we relearn those things which we need for the present day. One of them is in the learning skills, we talk about problem solving. See, this is a skill which we need to practice, because there are a lot many problems which arise, certain at personal levels also, in the organizations also. We have many problems, sometimes with our colleagues, sometimes with our principal, sometimes with the trustees, sometimes with the parents, sometimes with the students. So there are always problems related to students. See, if you are having a school which is having some special children in the school, so understanding these, they have their own specific problems, so addressing those problems, that is also very important, addressing them and trying to work out a solution for them. Critical thinking, of course, critical thinking is another thing where you articulate and express your thoughts and ideas. You think critically. Okay, you just don't what you're thinking critically means actually analyzing whatever information you have, and then classifying them into opinions and ideas or facts, and then taking a proper decision accordingly. So this is the art of, or skill of, critical thinking. Then comes creative thinking. You come out with new inventive ideas, techniques, and perspectives. Okay, coming to the last skill, that is citizenship. What does citizenship involve? This involves developing the knowledge, skills, confidence, which helps in the people to enable to know their own decisions, and they will be responsible for contributing to their own lives, as well as the lives, contributing to the lives of others. Okay, participation. Yes, participation is very important. I have seen in the schools and in many of the institutions where people simply sit. They have given, they're just simply listeners. They are passive listeners without contributing anything to what is happening we have staff meetings. So staff meetings are a platform for exchanging ideas. Okay, but very often we find that people just become passive listeners. Of course, there are other reasons for that also. Sometimes their ideas are not welcomed by the authority, but that's a different matter altogether. Let's not go into that. What I mean by participation is you contribute actively to the processes, and try to come out with ideas where you can make the teaching or the activities conducted in the school better, because your ideas are really going to help to make the task of the school or the principal easier. So participation is extremely important. Okay, next comes empathy. We all know that it is very important to build positive relationships. Empathy means actually putting on the shoes of the other person. Yeah, you are wearing the shoes of the other person. That means when you wear the shoes, as they say, the wearer knows where the shoe pinches. So you are wearing the shoes of the other person, and that's when you realize what the person is actually experiencing. And then you can understand his feelings, his inhibitions, his concerns. So this is a way of actually showing compassion to people, supporting people, and responding to situations. This is all included in the skill of empathy, and empathy actually helps in developing social relationships. Then we come to interpersonal relationships. See, this is also an ability which is very, very important, because we have to coexist. We don't live in vacuum. We have to interact with people, and especially when we are teachers or we are working in organizations, we need to interact with people. So interpersonal relationships are very important. Don't wait. Sometimes you don't have to wait for the other person to come and talk to you. See, I see very often that when there is a new entrant, the teachers generally, they are assessing that person. And it's very few teachers who actually go and welcome the new entrant, introduce themselves, ask for introduction, and, make the person feel comfortable. Generally, the new entrant is looked at in a very, very skeptical manner, and they always say, no, one more person coming to the team, God alone knows how this. And these newcomers, generally, that is the attitude with the older, not all, but some of them have this attitude that we are more experienced, so we know better. It's not like that. There are young teachers, young individuals, young people who can come out with excellent ideas. So it is a matter of, accepting people. So we need to spark up conversation, make other people feel comfortable. So when there is a new entrant to the team, you have to make that person feel comfortable in your presence. If there are conflicts, try to resolve those conflicts and issues. Okay, here we stop at the skills that would be needed to for success. Any questions? Radhika, can I move ahead? This, I have come to the end of my discussion on skills. Now I will move on to competency. Okay, is it okay?
Yes, ma'am, it's okay.
Yeah. So when we're talking about competency, I would like to quote Ajay Davis, who says that a core competency is something that is core to you and how you work. So it is something that could potentially set you apart from every other candidate. So core competencies are those characteristics that make an individual stand out. Obviously, you want to stand out, isn't it? If you want to be the best worker in your institution or employee in your institution, you need to stand out. So these competencies, they actually do not establish a baseline, but they are actually they are helped to raise the bar on the employee's performance. So as I quoted earlier, they are the competencies actually are telling you how results are achieved. So we are not interested in only the end result, but we are interested in how it is being achieved. See, a person may be doing a task in 5 days. They say, no, don't work hard, but work smart. So that is all about competencies. You need to do smart work, not hard work. Yeah, you need to work hard. But if there is an option to do a smart work, I think that would be more appreciable. Now we're coming to the basic competencies, and this I have adapted from Rebecca Brazzi's categorization of basic competencies into 4 different competencies, that is intellectual, motivational, emotional, and social. When we talk about intellectual competencies, they are the capabilities in problem solving and critical thinking. An intellectual competency speaks of person's understanding of complex situations and building a step-by-step approach to overcome an issue. So here again, we discuss about problem solving, critical thinking, creative thinking. These are included in the intellectual competencies also. See, you'll find a lot of overlapping between skills and competencies, but nevertheless, I wanted to emphasize this competencies here, but I'm not going to go into the details of this because we have already discussed it. So we'll come to the next intellectual competency that I would like to discuss about, and that is resourcefulness. When you are a very resourceful person, certainly you stand out. So being resourceful is all about finding innovative ways to overcome obstacles or solving problems. Okay, so you are trying to, sometimes we get certain problems or envisage certain problems, and that's why we realize that we need to put in all our resources, and we try and overcome this problem. So whatever information, okay, whatever resources you have. See, I had heard somewhere that technologists, many of these schools or colleges, actually I've read this more about the practice in the Western countries, and this goes back to the time when I'm talking about the 80s and early 90s. At that time, educational television was very an important part of the school culture. So many of these schools, they didn't have enough resources to build up the necessity or the equipments required. So what they used to have, they used to share the resources. So there used to be a teacher who would actually communicate, or who would try to find out solutions for this problem. The students were unable to get the best of this educational television programs, but they wanted to incorporate this. So one of the teachers was so resourceful that she looked up, or she found out through her contacts, how these educational television programs could be aired for their children also. So this is all about being resourceful, and teachers need to be very resourceful, because children, especially nowadays, children come out, they have a lot of exposure to lot many things, and sometimes they come prepared to the classroom with a lot of information which probably you might have missed. So, and at that time we need to be very resourceful and trying to find out sources where we can lead them on to further information or further knowledge. And then comes the methodical approach. See, any task that you do, it has to be done in a proper manner. Only then you can achieve the results. Some people, as soon as I've seen many people, I had a teacher who used to do that. As soon as you tell her that this is to be done, immediately she would do it. And in the end, what used to happen is that she would, her task would never be done properly. So don't be so hasty. Think about the task that is there at hand. Put it in, you can do a task analysis. Okay, this is the task I have. I analyze them into smaller tasks, subtasks, and then I reach the end result. So this methodical approach is very, very important. Along with that goes the organization and planning. See, teachers need to go very well planned. I have seen teachers who, or I've heard rather, that some of the teachers, once they go to out of the class or reach home, the purse is kept at a particular place. It doesn't happen nowadays, but earlier this was the practice. Teachers used to, simply leave the purse on the table and then pick up the purse the next morning when they are going for work. So between that time, they are not thinking anything at all. They have not organized their schedule. They have not planned for the work. And okay, some of the teachers I have seen, they go to the classroom, open the textbooks and start reading. Some of them, they just use some old notes, which God alone knows when they have, written, and use the same thing. So is that planning? Is that your organized work that you have on hand? No, that's not planning or organization. So it's very important to be organized and planned. Even the tasks that you are given, it's not that we in schools, we are only teaching. We organize so many different activities. Even in colleges, there are so many things which we come out with. So many activities that we have to do. So at all these at times, we need to be very well organized and planned, because as they say, that when you plan well, then your half the task is done. Okay, so planning is very, very important. Coming to the next category of competency, and that is motivational. So what is motivational? That is the determining a person's commitment and loyalty. And they speak of a person's reliability towards the employer, as well as the effect that is there on the others. In motivational, I would include accountability. See, it's where you are accountable. Somehow, I don't know why we are always neglecting this aspect, but we are accountable to everyone. That is our students, the teachers, the principal, the parents, the society at large. So we need to be responsible for our actions and decisions, and we need to demonstrate commitment to accomplish our work efficiently and effectively. Next comes reliability. There should be this type of reliability, as we all know. Reliability means a person is completing his work without compromising on the quality. Okay? And this is a kind of trust that builds up between the employer and the employee. Along with reliability comes responsibility. The two, and a reliable person is always entrusted with responsibility because the employer is sure to get the task done well. So reliability, this person is reliable. So when I am a leader and I want to entrust a task to somebody, I will always look for a person who is going to do the task well as on time. Another aspect is trustworthiness. Trustworthiness is very important. You should be a trustworthy. That's a kind of honesty that you have. You are committed to maintaining high standards. You are responsible for the quality and content of your work. See, have that kind of honesty with yourself. Chalta hai. Today I don't do something. Okay, I'm not prepared for my lesson. I'll do something in the class. No, you can't do that because you are cheating yourself. You're cheating yourself because you are hired for something and you are not fulfilling the duty that you are doing. So you're cheating yourself, and that's not, so you're not trustworthy. Correct? So never have that kind of an attitude. Each one of us needs to see that we are trustworthy and people place a lot of trust in us. And this will actually help in, when you are communicating to your colleagues or your students, then when you do it honestly, obviously your students and your colleagues will place a lot of trust in you. So trustworthiness is also a competency that needs to be developed. Moral principles and ethical standards. Yes, we all know what is right and what is wrong. But sometimes we, compromise on these things. And that is something we shouldn't be doing. Very often we don't accept the responsibility for the thing that has gone wrong. I know once it so happened that I was teaching in a school, and our principal, we had organized fancy dress competition in the school, and there were many participants. There were teachers were given the responsibility of writing the, as you know, that we have to prepare the score sheets and all that. So teachers were given this responsibility. The previous day they had to complete. Yes, somebody has some question. So they were not. Can I continue?
Akansha ma'am, do you have any question?
You want to share something?
No,
Sure.
ma'am.
You want to share something? You want to share your experience?
You
Okay.
can continue.
Yeah, okay. So, yes. So I was telling you that we had to actually make the score sheets and all, but teachers, they decided that we should not be doing it. And so I was also a party to it. But the next day, utter chaos was there. And then, of course, the principal called us, and he obviously put the blame on us, which he was right, that we had to do it and we didn't do it. So at that time, the blame game was being done, and which we should not have done. We should have actually accepted the responsibility for the mistake that we had committed. So when you start, actually, this happens even when you are teaching. Suppose you are committed, you have taught a wrong concept by mistake. It may not be intentional, but sometimes we teach a wrong concept. Then then the next day you go back and you correct your mistake. You will find that the students will appreciate this very much. Another thing is that when you are teaching something and a student asks you a question, there is no harm in telling the student that at present I am not aware or I don't have a clear idea about it. Let me go back and tell you the next day. Okay, so when you are having this kind of an honesty, at that time you are actually practicing moral principles and ethical standards, and that is a very, very important aspect. Now we come to the other competency, that is emotional competency, that goes with adaptability, how you manage certain things. Sometimes, you know, certain things they come up so suddenly. Some negative things come up in the organization where you are working, and you find it difficult. There are certain types of feelings which come in your mind, some negative feelings, some fear, some anxiety. Very often people have this fear of losing their jobs. It may not be there, but you feel that anxiety because others are being, relieved. That's why you have that kind of a fear. So at that time, your adaptability, your ability to withstand this kind of pressure comes a long way. Okay, so we are talking about emotional learning. See, here I'm talking about, this is a competency which is very important in our field. It is a process through which you implement strategies to understand and effectively manage emotions to achieve a particular outcome. Ability to recognize and regulate your emotions and behaviors in the workplace, the ability to recognize other people's emotions. As I told you, when you're having teamwork, when you're collaborating with others, at that time, it's very necessary to understand or recognize others' emotions also. And you should develop that ability to actually quell your fears, reduce your anxiety, try to understand what are the feelings, what triggers these things, and see that you are able to maintain your equanimity. Stress reduction is again related to the same thing, that you have stress and some degree of stress is necessary because that brings out the best in us. So it is necessary to have some kind of stress, but that is should not affect your mental, your emotional health in any way. So you should see that you are able to cope. That is something which you should know. Understand that, are you able to cope well under pressure, or are you facing excessive amount of stress? So these two are two different things. If you are facing excessive amount of stress, please, it's necessary to talk to someone who will be able to help you out. Seek somebody's help, somebody's support, and I'm sure that we are able to manage the stress. So that is very important. Conflict management. Okay, there are always going to be conflicts. Situations may be such, people may be such, and we may be having conflicts with lot many people. But here it is a question of reconciling to certain situation. What is the meaning of reconciliation? Reconciliation means to me, it is the art of combining. That means you are asking people not to compromise. You don't want to compromise on something. No, you have to make choices between two opposite things. But the best thing is to combine the two. See, if you are a principal, what happens is you have to listen to your teachers. You have the teachers on one side and you have the management on the other side. Correct? Now, how do you manage these two? You are sandwiched between these two. The management expects certain things from you, and the teachers are having other types of expectations. So, how do you make a choice? Okay, there are two. Like, I'll give you one example. It's a new school. It was a new school, and obviously the management had just established the school, so they were not financially very sound enough to pay high salaries to the teachers. On the other hand, the teachers, they were not, obviously they were not satisfied with the salaries they were getting, so they had a lot of complaints against the management, and time and again they used to talk to the principal and tell the principal that, see, we are all having a lot of problems. After all, other schools are paying such high salaries, why are we getting so less? So what was the principal's task then? It was to manage these two. We had some reconciliation had to be done. I could not tell the management to pay high salaries to the teachers because it was a new school. I was aware of the financial constraint. I could, on the other hand, I could not tell the teachers that, that yes, I was empathizing with them. That was the way to actually handle the whole thing. I had to empathize with them, that I understand you all are all very well qualified, but please bear, and next year they will certainly increase the salary. So this was a way of, I'm not it's not a question of showing my ability or anything like that. It was just to quote an example. This can happen, this must have happened with all the principals across lot many institutions, and they may have managed things in a better way than what I did. So managing, that is how conflict management takes place, that you are actually reconciling to certain things, and that is why you are finding a reason to combine two things together. Okay, managing yourself, of course you have to manage so many things, your workplace, your emotions, your schedule, and everyone needs to do this. Is our own way to become more organized, become plan ahead, prioritize your task so that you are able to manage yourself in a proper way. Next comes social competencies, that is related to the social interactions with people, communication, collaboration, leadership, how you deal with other people, how effective you are when you deal with other people. So social intelligence is actually described as the capacity to understand social situations and dynamics. It is also comprises of ability to operate effectively in various social situations. See, here we are talking about social situations because we are amongst people. If you're working with machines, no, that there the social intelligence will not come to fore. But we are we are working with people. So social intelligence becomes very important. Then I'm talking about customer commitment. Okay, customer commitment to customer excellence. Who are our customers? Customers is a very strange thing, no, but yes, if you take education as a service, then our customers are our students and the parents. So we should be committed actually to satisfying our customers and responding to them in the right manner. So we should always see that whatever decisions we take, their interest is always taken into consideration. And it's only this customer excellence can be brought about only when we respond to the queries, we offer them such information which which is of great importance or value to them. Next comes customer quality or focus. Here we meet the needs of the customers and actually respond to them in a proper manner. Okay, when you're talking about the customer excellence or commitment, then there is the commitment is not only of the teacher. It is the commitment of the teacher, the principal, the management, all of them at large. At that time, the commitment to the customers is how you are treating or how you are training your students to become good citizens. They are going to be helpful to the society at large. Okay, and when I'm talking about the quality focus, here I'm emphasizing on the quality. That means the quality of doing the work. Okay, you are now delivering your goods in a proper, in a quality manner. In industries, they have quality control. Okay, and such a type of thing does not, we don't have something like that, of course, but we can adopt something like quality. We ourselves can be committed to maintaining the quality and thereby bring about a quality focus and actually take into consideration the customer's needs and then see that we deliver these goods in a very effective manner. Next comes collaborative working. So healthy relationships to be maintained with people, that is very important. Here actually we can correlate to teamwork. as we had talked about in the skills. And collaborative working means it's very important to understand that we are achieving a common goal. So all of us are trying to see that we work together to achieve that common goal, and that is to provide good education. I said education, not instruction. Education includes a lot many things. Instruction includes just imparting information to the students, but education includes a lot many things. So I think that we are all committed to working together to achieve a common low goal, that is to provide good education to our students. Next comes inclusiveness. See here, when we talk about inclusiveness, very often you will see in meetings there are only a few who talk, and they will not allow the others to speak. They will ridicule the others. They will actually ask them to, get offended when somebody opposes them. So this is not something which is good for an institution. So it's very important that we interact properly with our colleagues. We may be having our personal biases, but we must leave that aside and see that we create a conducive environment. Then comes organizational citizenship behavior. This is a term that is used to describe all positive and constructive actions and behaviors. It is not that anything that it is something that an individual does of his own free will to support his colleagues, so that to the benefit of the institution. So you are helping your colleague not out of some benefit for yourself, but just because you feel that your colleague needs some support. You have polite and you are considerate towards others' behavior. You don't show any negative behavior when dealing with situations or any unfavorable situations, and you are also being very, very conscientious. Okay. Now, I'll come to the last. Is it all right? Can I take a few more minutes?
Yes, ma'am, you can take.
Okay. So I'll come to the last part of my presentation, and that is importance of skills and competencies. So we talk why we need these competencies. So what is the importance of these? See, they will help you why these competencies and skills are necessary, because they will help you to tackle your problems more confidently and help you to come out of your comfort zone. See, when you are talking about coming out of, we all like to be where we are. Anything extra, any small this thing, a mile we have to go, we hesitate. We don't like to take that step. Why? Because we fear that we don't have the right skills or the right competencies. But if we develop these skills and competencies, certainly we will be able to tackle any kind of problem that comes our way very confidently. I don't know. Many of you may be probably fond of music, and you may be following certain reality shows on music, and you may be observing that the judges, they usually tell a person, that okay, today you have come out of your comfort zone and tried something new, and you have done very well. So that person has actually gone for it. So in the same way, we can also need to develop certain skills and competencies so that we can go for it. Of course, establishing healthy relationships and paying attention to people around you. See, we don't live in a vacuum. We need people, and we need to help people, because it is with people's support that we all move ahead. So establishing healthy relationships is important. As I've told about collaborating, we have to collaborate well. So that's why if we collaborate well, our goal is achieved well. Creative ways we have to find to solve problems. We have to keep an open mind, encourage new ideas and diverse perspectives. See, when I was talking about inclusiveness, I wanted to put one more point, and that was, inclusiveness not only of your colleagues, but sometimes certain type of students. For example, when you have students who are special. So very often, this is something which I faced, that there was a lot of resistance to admitting these students to a normal school. Because of course I understand that they require special attention, and sometimes the teachers are not having the ability to handle such situations, but we cannot disregard these children. After all, they are a part of our society, and it's very important to sensitize the other children, other individuals, to accept such people in the society. So when I'm talking about inclusiveness, it's also interacting with the colleagues and all, and also, helping such children who are in our classrooms. You have to learn to see, when you are equipped with skills and competencies, you will stand up for yourself and your team, and you will also you will be accountable for your actions. So then you discover the ability to recover from your setbacks and failures, and you continue them as learning opportunities, and move ahead in life. Thank you. Thank you so much for a patient listening.
Thank you to you, ma'am, as well, for explaining us about the skill and competency and explaining us about the importance of learn, unlearn, and relearn. Literally, it was a very good quote, and learning is as well as unlearning and relearning. All three are very much important for students as well as for teachers.